Good morning. Good morning, folks. It's James Mace from James Mace Coaching, changing your life and world one day at a time. Well, I'm very privileged to be here today, and we're going to cover a lot of topics. The power of the process is really 5 building blocks. We start, and I'm going to start with attitude isn't everything, it's the only thing. And then we'll go through the 4 other blocks. The 4 other blocks are the power of the subconscious mind, the power of the mastermind, the power of personal development, personal growth, really concentrating on a personal growth plan. How do you develop one of those? And then the 5th one is the power of the laws of success and the laws of leadership. And that's what we're going to cover a little bit today. I can't go into great detail on any one, but we're going to give you an overview of what the power of the process is and really what it can do for you. So before I get started, I'm going to read something from an author, a Christian author. His name is Mark Batterson, and he wrote a book called Chase the Lion. And this little excerpt is called The Lion's Chaser Manifesto. Here you go. Quit living as if the purpose of life is to arrive safely at death. Run to the roar. Set God-sized goals. Pursue God-given passions. Go after a dream that is destined to fail without divine intervention. Stop pointing out problems. Become part of the solution. Stop repeating the past, start creating the future. Face your fears, fight for your dreams. Grab opportunity by the mane and don't let go. Live like today is the first day and the last day of your life. Burn sinful bridges, blaze new trails. Live for the applause of nail-scarred hands. Don't let what's wrong with you keep you from worshiping what's right with God. Dare to fail, dare to be different, quit holding back, quit holding out, quit running away, chase the lion. With that, I'd just like to start and just tell you a little bit about who I am and where I come from. Again, and my name's James Mace. My dad gave me a quote when I was 8 years old. And that quote was this: always shoot for the eagle, you'll hit the pheasant, and you won't eat crow. I took that to heart back then when I was 8 years old. All I wanted to do was be a chef. But I knew that I was meant for something different, something bigger, something to impact the world. But I did become a chef at 18 and had a 50-year career in the culinary and the hospitality business. Had the opportunity to build multi-million-dollar companies. Got to lead and train thousands and thousands of people. I also had some ups and downs. I went through losing a business, going bankrupt, went through a divorce, went through alcoholism. That's when I found Jesus. Went through a very deep depression for a couple of years. I met my wife, my current wife, and we've been married now for 33 years, the best 33 years I've ever had. One of the things that I've never stopped doing, I've never stopped reading, I've never stopped growing, I've never stopped getting better in my personal growth and in my business acumen. I kept reading. I've been reading since 1977, graduated from university. I just kept reading. 30, 40, 35, average probably about 35 books a year. Not to brag, it's just important to me. I love to learn. We were in 2000, we came into the United States of America and in Christian ministry and had a great run. But in 2014, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. That changes your life. That changes your outlook. And here's, in the day that I had the surgery, the doctor said he wasn't sure whether they got everything they could see. And I just said, Jesus will heal the rest. And he did. I'm cancer-free today. But the night of my surgery, I had a vision from the Lord. He wanted me to take 50 plus years of training, of working with business people, business ownership, business leadership, and to become a world-class coach and world-class public speaker to impact millions of lives for Jesus Christ. And I said, okay, because I knew he was going to take care of me. But it took me a long time. It took me 2 years to really understand what a real coach was. I had no idea when I said yes. In 2019, that's when I started getting really focused. And was the birth of the power of the process. And the power of the process is not a one-time thing. It's an everyday thing. It's a lifestyle. It's who you are. So we're going to go through, and I'm going to go through a few things. I'm just going to kind of give you a couple lists here of the 5th block, and then we're going to go back and start at number 1. Okay, the 5th block is the laws of success and the laws of leadership. Here's the 15 laws of success. The mastermind, your definite chief aim, self-confidence, habit of saving, initiative and leadership, imagination, enthusiasm, self-control, habit of doing more than what you get paid for, pleasing personality, accurate thought, concentration, failure, tolerance, and the golden rule. Pretty quick. 15 laws of leadership. And what's the laws of success? Sorry. And what's really interesting is most people teach them on their own. Okay, that's the laws of success. Here's the laws of leadership: the law of the lid, the law of influence, the law of the process, the law of navigation, the law of addition, the law of solid ground, the law of respect, the law of intuition, the law of magnetism, the law of connection, the law of the inner circle, the law of empowerment, the law of the picture, the law of the buy-in, the law of victory, the law of Big Mo, the law of priorities, the law of sacrifice, the law of timing, the law of explosive growth, and the law of legacy. Now, the crazy thing is most people look at laws of success and laws of leadership as separate things. But what I've done is I've put them together, and they become one block. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back, and I'm going to touch base little by little on each of the 5 building blocks to give you an idea of what it is or where you want to go, or maybe there's some things I'm going to say today that you're going to want more information. And you can contact me through this group, through direct message me on James Mace, or try to become ask for to become friends on Facebook. You can join my Facebook group called Power of Process, and we can contact there, and we can go a little further. But the power of the process. The first law, the first building block is entitled, "Attitude isn't everything, it's the only thing." I believe that if you've got a positive attitude, you can move mountains. I believe that if we could get deep inside of you and understand who you are and how to create an attitude of positivity that can go on all the time, no matter what's happening in your life, you can look at the good and be grateful for where you are. The power of the process is a system of steps. And here's a definition. Here's a quote from Dennis Waitley, author of The Winner's Edge. The real leaders in business, in the professional community, in education, in government, and in the home also seem to draw upon a special cutting edge that separates them from the rest of society. The winner's edge is not a gifted birth in a high IQ or talent. The winner's edge is in the attitude, not the aptitude. And part of that process is understand that everything I'm going to talk to you today on attitude, on the power of the subconscious mind, on the mastermind, on the personal development and personal growth, and the laws of success and leadership, these are all learned skills. You're here to learn. Now understand that it's a lifelong process. That's why I've never stopped. I graduated university. I went to my first conference in 1977 and kept going. Now the difference is when it wasn't until I had cancer that I actually started to apply some of the stuff that I had read. I've always been a good person. I've always been able to lead big groups and motivate people. But when I started to apply the power of a positive attitude, I've always had one, but the power of the subconscious mind and the mastermind, that's when things changed. That's when I understood who I was and where I needed to go. And it's about getting inside and deep inside of who you are. Now, an attitude compounds when exposed to other. It multiplies. What I mean by that, if you're positive, if you're a motivated person, two things happen. One, you attract people like you that are positive, that are going places, and the people that aren't, they get repelled because they want to hang around with you. You're this goody two-shoes guy. You're the guy that's ready to take on the world because of your attitude. There isn't anything that you can't do. Now, the opposite is true also. Bad attitudes compound also. But the worst thing is that bad attitudes compound faster. Because we human beings, we're negative people. When we look at the news, we look at all the bad stuff. We don't look at the good stuff, the good things that we can do. We always look at the morbid stuff seems to draw our attention. So what I have to do now is change the way you think. Now, when I talk about attitude and subconscious mind, all of these attitudes, all of these building blocks build together. I separated them in order to be able to talk to you about them, but they really work together. Now, attitude will determine success or failure. Our attitude determines our approach to life. Do you look at the glass half full or half empty? I'm a half full guy. Okay, I'm always looking for the opportunity in the problem. When you have a great attitude, you have better relationships with people. That's just a fact. It's one of those things that happens. People start to come to you and ask you questions, why this is happening and why is that happening. You become a source of energy that they may not have, but they want part of it. And often Our attitude is the only difference between success and failure. I don't believe for an instant that you can have a bad attitude and be real successful in life. You may be a success in business, but the rest of your life is in a shambles. So I don't believe success is just money. I believe success is being happy with your relationships, with who you are, with your family, with your spirituality, with all of those things. They all work together. Be happy with who you are. If you've got a good attitude for you, that will permeate your being, and your energy will attract those same types of people. The other thing what a good attitude does, that our attitude at the beginning of a task will affect its outcome more than anything else. When you get offered a project or an assignment in school, what's your attitude towards it? Is it, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever? Or is it, man, okay, how do I divvy this up? How do I separate this? How do I make it happen so that I can move forward? What are the parts? What are the moving parts? Who can I go talk to help me to get more information? Where do I go? Because if that's your attitude, you've got the job half done. Now all it is putting the work in. Our attitudes can turn problems into blessings. It's one of those, it's one of those things that you have to work at all the time. You have to work at it. It doesn't come easy. Now, part of what I do for me is I put little notes on my phone every hour. It kind of comes up. Bring the joy. You deserve it. You're a winner. You're a champion. You know, you're a leader. All of those things are on my phone. I have one for every hour. Why do I do that? Well, part of having a good attitude is having great self-talk. And we have bad days. We all do. And so what I'm able to do is, when I know I feel my energy getting zapped because of negativism or because of something I'm involved in, maybe I'm having problems getting a job completed, then what I do is I hit my phone and I can get something positive to help. Oh yeah, I gotta sit down, gotta just cool, gotta be intentional about where I'm going, and I need to be positive intentionally all the time. And that's what I do. The other things I do is if I'm going into a meeting and I've had a really tough day, maybe I just came out of a bad situation, I use the door frame of that, going into that meeting room, as a trigger that I need to change, and I need to be positive, and I need to bring in the right energy to help the group. And sometimes I'll kind of look at who's in the group and who needs me today on my A game right now. That's all an attitude, guys. That's all an attitude. Our attitude can give us an uncommonly positive perspective. And sometimes that can irritate people. I don't know about you. I don't get irritated. Well, yes, I do. I can get really frustrated with certain things. And you know, we know that you're not supposed to talk politics. Well, that's one of those things that can really irritate me. But I try not to. I have my opinions, and you try not to interject them on everybody, but it doesn't always work. But what you do is your perspective is always about what can we do? Where can we go? I can do this. We can do this. If you're in a team, when you get a problem, the best thing you can do is say, okay, look at the problem and divvy it up into jobs for the people that have the strengths in those areas. I don't have all the strengths. I don't. And we'll talk about that shortly, but that's part of the issue. I know what I'm really good at. And I drive that way. But I'm not the guy that's going to do all the tech stuff. Okay. You know, that's beyond me at this point in my life. But what I do is I know people that can help me. And I get those people to help me because I can still do that. Now, what I want to do, though, is I really want to understand what they're doing. I don't want to just push them out the door and say, here, go do this and tell me what you got when you come back. I want to have an idea, okay, where we're going. The other thing that I want you to know is that just because you have a great attitude doesn't mean you're automatically a good person. That doesn't mean that, okay? Because unfortunately, there are people that are very bad people that positively think they're good people in a negative way. You know, Robin Hood, old time, right? I mean, he was a good person, but he was doing it in the wrong way. At least that's the way I look at it. You know, so attitude isn't everything. It's the only thing. It's kind of like saying to, if you're into sports, and I was a 5-sport athlete in high school. If you're into sports, attitude, winning is everything, okay? Vince Lombardi had a great quote, and it kind of goes with this one that I just spoke about. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. That's where I ended up taking, you know, attitude isn't everything, it's the only thing. That's where I took that from. And that's okay, because that's part of the process, part of knowing where you are and where you're going. Okay? So attitude, I believe, the reason it's in the first block is because if I can change your attitude and I can give you a better outlook, the rest of the 4 building blocks are easier to accomplish, easier to go through. See, the second building block is the power of the subconscious mind. And what that is, it's a mindset, okay? Changing your limiting beliefs. If I can change your habits, I can change your life. See, we are 95% habitual people. We do everything by rote. We just do it. We don't have to think, we just do it. So now what I need, so let's sit down and figure out, what are my limiting beliefs? What do I think about money? What are my limits on relationships? What are my limits on business? What are my limits on whatever it is? And write all those down. I used to call it the T. On one side, I put all my limiting beliefs. On the other side, I put down, okay, what can I do? How can I change that? And I call them change agents. How do I make those changes? And I had to change some things that I had to think about. Before my cancer, I had been successful years and years ago, but because I lost it all, because of alcoholism and all kinds of different stuff, I couldn't see myself or didn't believe in myself that I could be successful financially anyway, ever again. And every time we seemed to get a little ahead, somehow I'd sabotage it. Until 2014. Then all the stuff that I had read, all the stuff about, the universal intelligence and the unlimited supply, all of that stuff came back to me. And I started to apply it. And I started to dig deep into who I was, deep within my subconscious. And I had to start changing what I believed in, success and money and all those things. See, for the longest time, all I cared about was paying my bills. But if I could change the way you think about money, about success, it's not about paying the bills. It's about how much can you give away? How much can you help others? And you give, and it'll be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing in your lap. Jesus said that, and that's true. The more you give, the more you receive. Zig Ziglar had a quote. And I don't know if you know who Zig Ziglar is. He's now with the Lord. But he said, if you can help enough people get what they want, you will absolutely always get what you want. But you have to give it first. Whether it's in wisdom, whether it's in money, whatever it is, you got to give it out. You got to be a servant first. Part of mindset is really knowing who you are, and you're comfortable with your own skin. And now all we want to do is take that and make it better. So even my little blurbs on my phone help my mind because I've retrained my thinking. And that's what this is all about. The power of the subconscious mind. How do I change the way you think? I need to retrain your brain to think right, to think successful, to think prosperity, to think having a loving relationship, to think of helping others. Maybe it's to build a school or to become someone who gives back. So it is a process, and I'll give you. we had one of my mentors. We were at the beginning of this year. We were talking. He came to me. He says, "Well, what's your goal this year?" So I said, I said 250,000. He said, "That's a week, right?" And I kind of chuckled. He says, "Well, you still have limiting beliefs." And I had to go back and try to figure that one out, because I thought that was a lot of money. It isn't. It isn't. But I thought it was. Because you can have anything you want. if you can really understand that there's an unlimited supply. There's no shortage of material things. There's no shortage of education. We make it shortchanged. We stop it by the way we think. So if I can change the way you think, I can change your life. My motto for the power of the process is to change your life and world one day at a time. And that's what it is. It's a process one day at a time. Now, the third building block in this power of process is the mastermind. And I know you might belong to a mastermind that's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. If you've done any Tony Robbins stuff or have listened to his stuff, he has a mastermind.com. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is an intimate relationship with 3 or 4, up to 8 people. That's kind of the maximum that has been laid out in Think and Grow Rich, that 8 people in a mastermind is about the biggest you can have, where you can have perfect harmony. And that mastermind is there to help each other. You're there to give. There's no bad information. There's no bad ideas. It's just about giving and giving and giving. And what really happens when let's say you bring you and your best friend come together, and you got ideas, and you may not even be in the same industry, and might not even be in the same part of the country, but you can get together and with your energy and his energy or her energy. What God does is create a third person. That's the mastermind. And have you ever been driving down the road after you've been in a meeting, and all of a sudden, poof, you get an answer? Man, I don't know if that happened to you, but that's happened to me a lot of times. And I've had to pull over and write that down, because if I don't write it down, I forget it. I got so many things going through my mind all the time. I'm trying to do so much because I get excited about life. So I write it down, and then I come back, and then I might, let's say it's with Bill. I say, hey, Bill, when I get to my next destination, I call Bill, here's what I think you need to do. I says, Bill, this is the idea I got. What do you think? Give me some feedback. Not right now. Give me some feedback. Think about it. That's what happens. That's a mastermind. It's there for you, for the people in the group, in perfect harmony, working on situations or ideas and just brainstorming. Answers come because there is an infinite supply. There is an infinite intelligence, and it's out there. It just happens. And I can explain how it does. Now, the last 2 are probably the bigger of all 5, but I'm going to let you know something. I don't believe you can go from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 without going through 2 and 3. I think you got to understand each facet of the blocks. The 4th building block is the power of personal development, personal growth. Now, one of the things I know a lot of you people probably read, good books like, The Leader Within You, Awakening the Giant Within, and all those books, Think and Grow Rich. They're all great. And I read all of them. The key to personal growth is to get it individually tied in. We talked earlier, I talked about, working on your strengths. And there's a book out there, and the one that I use anyway is called Strength Finder 2.0. It's by Tom Roth, R-O-T-H. Great book, but what he does is explain 34 strengths within what we call strengths within each of us. Not all of us have all 34, guaranteed, okay? You might have 6, 8, sometimes 10, but you don't have 30. You don't have 26, at least not many, not anybody I've come across. So here's what I do. So I have what a personal development plan is it's individual. I take let's say we sit down and you've got 6 strengths, let's say. So what we're going to do is for the next 90 days, we're going to work on one. And we're going to read 5 books on, let's say, productivity. And that's all we're going to read about. Now, you're going to have some other books that you're going to read for motivation and for inspiration, but these books are strictly to help you get better at doing being more productive in whatever you're doing. And for 90 days, that's what you do. Why? Because if I can get you to be so good at your strengths, your weaknesses will shrink in the same proportion, and you can always find somebody to take care of your weaknesses. In the laws of leadership, there are some of those laws I'm not real good at. Okay, so I try to find people who are good in those areas. Now, most of them, especially the ones that deal with empowering other people, I love giving people more to do, more to grow. But a personal growth plan is yours. So what I mean by that, if I jettisoned into your living room and looked at your calendar, I should know exactly. I could look at what you're reading and know what strengths you're working on. If it's not in your calendar, if you haven't set time aside to grow, even if you're in school, you need to spend some time for you to grow. And then you don't have a personal development plan, personal growth plan, because it's haphazard. You're not directing the growth. You're going to always read some other stuff, but your concentration should be on who you are, what's your strengths, and how can I develop that strength for the better over the next 90 days. And then you change. One of my strengths, and it was a curse for the longest time, was an achiever. And in his book, the achiever is the guy who will go 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and can't vacation because he can't quit working. That was me. Now, since my cancer, I've changed that. Now I work on building blocks. I work on 50-minute increments, and I take a break, and I take some time off. I spend some time with my wife. We'll have coffee, whatever. We'll go away. We'll do some things. So to get involved in a personal growth plan, it takes a little bit of time, okay? So that's the 4th building block. The 5th one, which is the one that I'm teaching on Power of Process right now, the Law of Six Leadership. We're right at, we're doing 18, the laws of 18 and 19 this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and we'll do the last 2 next week. And I do a live presentation every Friday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm in Cocoa, Florida, or Melbourne, Florida, and you're welcome to join the group and get you can listen to them anytime. But the fifth building block is the power of the laws of success and the laws of leadership unleashed. What I've done there is I've taken Napoleon Hill's laws of success and John Maxwell's 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, and instead of teaching them separately, I brought them together, because I believe that success, you can be successful for a short time if you're not a good leader, but you can't, it won't last. And you can be a great leader and not truly be successful. But when you bring them together, success it's inevitable. You'll achieve everything you've ever wanted. I believe that with all my heart. Now, there's two laws in the laws of leadership that are really tough to teach. That's the law of intuition, the law of timing, because they're subjective. Some people have a bent with intuition and understand timing. Others have to learn it. But everything I talk about, everything in the power of the process, absolutely everything is learned. They're all skills. And if they're a skill, you can learn it. You can learn all the qualities to having a positive attitude, and there's 30. You can learn all the rules and the processes of creating changing your habits, retraining your brain. We can all do that. The mastermind is probably the easiest of them all, because a lot of times it's your best friend, because all they want to do is help you succeed. You want them to succeed too. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's an inner circle in your job. Personal development, I believe, is the key. But you can't have personal development because you got to apply it if you haven't done the other three. And the laws of success and laws of leadership are there to culminate everything you've done up till now, and understand that it's a process. It's a lifelong journey. Now, if I can change your attitude to accept change, to look forward to change, to be excited about change, you'll enjoy the journey. But if I can't, if you're not able to enjoy the change on all levels, it's very hard to enjoy the journey. And it's not easy to look back and say, man, why didn't I do it? So I'm here to help you find your passion, to find out who you are and where you're going. Like I said earlier, my name is James Mace from James Mace Coaching, changing your life and world one day at a time. The system is called The Power of the Process. You can get in touch with me on Facebook, James Mace Coaching. Power of Process is our group. You can ask to belong there. You can messenger me at James Mace. Those are the ways to get in touch with me internationally. The best way to do it is on Facebook. Thank you very much. God bless you. And I love to see you, not at the top, but over the top.